Ambush killers specialize in attacking suddenly with lethal force. They approach with stealth, then kill with speed and strength. It takes only a few hundredths of a second for a croc's jaws to clamp shut, with more force than a steel trap. And it never lets go. Crocodiles are patient killers. The key to the crocodile's success is its lightning-fast strike. High-speed cameras allow us to look at one in a whole new way. For the wildebeest, the difference between life and death is where a hoof lands. In an Indian teak forest, another kind of ambush is in the making. Although at first glance this may look like the Garden of Eden, the heat here can reach 110 degrees, and food has been scarce. In the absence of a pasture land, a gaur dines on bark. But salvation is at hand. The mawa tree is about to bloom. Its flowers are full of liquid, making them irresistible. The mawa is an oasis in a hot, dry desert. And you don't have to be a tree dweller to get a share. Cheetle deer follow the langur monkeys collecting the flowers that fall. The monkeys welcome the deer because deer are unrivaled at spotting predators. When they're relaxed, it's usually safe to come down to the ground and gather food. One langur monkey travels beyond the sentinels, alone and in the open. Instead of chasing their prey, tigers prefer to stalk and pounce. No monkey wants to be eaten by a tiger, but here on planet Earth, there are much worse ways to go. If you want to observe most of the life and death battles taking place on Earth, you need a magnifying glass, because they take place at a near microscopic level. These battles are some of the most bizarre. Take this jungle floor in Borneo, where the ants are at work. In every acre, there are millions of them. But jungle ants have an enemy, and it's an insidious one. These bullet ants are losing their minds. Spores from a parasitic fungus called cordyceps have infiltrated their bodies and their brains. The infected ant is being directed to climb to the northwest side of the plant, where the fungus has the best chance to grow. Once the ant gets there, the fungus will devour its brain and reproduce. This unique time-lapse footage shows what happens to the ant's corpse. Like something out of science fiction, the fruiting body of the cordyceps erupts from the ant's head. It can take 3 weeks to grow. Then, deadly spores will burst from its tip and infect any ant it touches. The fungus is so virulent, it can wipe out whole colonies of ants. And it's not just ants that fall victim to this killer. There are literally thousands of different types of fungi, and each one attacks a different species. But these attacks do have a positive effect on biodiversity. To prevent any one species from getting the upper hand, this law of the jungle suggests that the more numerous a species becomes, the more likely it will lose its mind. In another Borneo jungle, an unusual example of predator and prey unfolds around the pitcher plant, which fills up with water when it rains. Adapted to living in low-nutrient soils, the pitcher plant is actually a predator that lures insects into an ambush. Nectar glands on the underside of the lids attract the prey, who realize too late that the sides of the pitcher plant are slippery with wax. First they fall, then they drown. At the bottom of the pitcher plant, glands secrete enzymes that help to digest the corpses. But there is still another predator in this game, the red crab spider. It spends its entire life inside the pitcher plant, hanging on with threads of silk. Instead of building a web, it relies on the water-filled pitcher plant to trap its food. When an ant falls in, the spider simply waits for it to drown, and then climbs down for a spot of fishing. Alive, this ant would be dangerous. Dead, it's a meal. And the spider leaves the digested remains of its bounty in the water, where it winds up as food for the plant. Even food that lies underwater, like mosquito larvae, is within the crab spider's reach. By taking its own air supply, trapped in a bubble, the crab spider can dive to the bottom of the pitcher. Once the prey is captured, the spider hauls itself back up to the surface on its silken safety line. Tiny insects provide much of the food for smaller predators. And no one is more grateful than these colorful South African lizards. There are more lizards living